apologies for loading this up on a Saturday. I'm having internet problems both at school and at home, and so that threw a wrench in all my plans. But now we're back on track, so we should be good to go. Just as a quick reminder or a quick overview, I'm going to be going over 1.7, 1.8, and 1.9. 1.7 was the last lesson we did before we went back to school. So some of you guys came back to school and some of you guys stayed online. This was the last one we did as an online class. And what I'm trying to do with these lessons is I'm trying to chunk them. I'm trying to break them down so that they don't feel like this overwhelming thing. And so if you remember, we went on a scavenger hunt where I asked you to find the different alternative plots. And if you recall, I gave you parallel plot, episodic plot, and media res. I gave you those definitions. All you had to do was find examples of these, of movies that you've seen or books that you've read. The only two terms that you needed to scavenger hunt were dream sequence, which was was it a dream poem, and flashback and flash forwards. Okay, and so if you remember, we did that one from bell to bell, and you turn that into teams. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to break the module into two parts. So I wanted us to get the definitions, because at the end of the module, what you need to do is you need to pick one of these fairy tales, and it's Rapunzel or Hansel and Gretel. So you can pick one of these two and rewrite the story using one of the new alternative plots. So it could be parallel, it could be episodic, it could be flashback or flash forward, it could be a dream sequence, it could be a media res. And what's cool about it is that as you read, you can have the story be read to you, right? Once that was done, you were supposed to go to a Word document and write your story on a Word document. Once that's done, you were supposed to submit your story here. So if you haven't done that already, please do so. This is from my online class. If you haven't done that already, please do so. That should be the first item that you should complete. After that, we started narrative writing. And with this one, all we talked about was we went over some of the terms, right? So if you work through the module here, there's only 3 flashcards. Just be familiar with the note-taking guide. Be familiar with these terms, because these terms are going to be on the quiz that you take at the end of this module. And be familiar. So if I click here on the tutorial, if you take good notes, guys, the quiz should be super duper easy, right? So the thing that we focus on in class is the writing process. When we write, we need to pre-write. That's when we think about ideas and we brainstorm. Drafting is when you write your rough draft, and then you go through editing and revising. And once you've done that, then you publish. So that's what we did Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. Once this module is done, what you do is you go to 1.8 narrative quiz. It's a super simple quiz. You click start. It's only a few questions. It's multiple choice. So if you took good notes on your module, it should be easy. And now this is just asking you to think about the first memory that you can call back, right? And the idea here is to use as much detail as possible. And so if you pay attention here, instead of saying something like a car or something general, try to be specific. So if I'm trying to recall, for example, the first car I had, I wouldn't just say my first car was a coupe, it was red. I would say my first car was a 1993 Toyota Celica. It was maroon. It had airbags on the driver's side. It was black interior. It had a sunroof. And it had a lot of cool features for its time. So that would be a specific memory. And then again, if you took good notes on the module, these questions should be super easy to answer. That would catch us up with the live class. The live class started at 1.9 on Friday, the writing process, the pre-writing process. And so what we did is we went over some of these terms, and the reason why they're having you go over these terms is because you're going to read a story. And the story that we are currently reading, so make sure that you review the elements of fiction, right? And these are reviews from 9th grade. So we have point of view, we have theme, which is the universal message. We have the plot. We have conflict. No story can take place without conflict. We have the setting. And we have the characters. After that review, we started reading. Okay, so pay attention to major conflict. What is a struggle or conflicts do the main characters that the main characters encounter? Who or what is the protagonist, and who or what is the antagonist? Remember, when we're talking protagonist and antagonist, that's not necessarily the good and the bad guy. Most of the time, yes, but that's not necessarily what protagonist and antagonist means. Protagonist means the main character of the story, and antagonist means the character who opposes the main character. So it's not always the good guy, because there's movies, for example, that focus on villains, like The Joker or Suicide Squad. Those movies focus on the villains. And even though they're villains, they are the protagonist of the story. Then we keep going. And again, this is just pre-reading. If you had me last year, we read this story. It's called Persephone and Demeter. It's a myth about how the seasons came to be. So you're going to read this story. Right, that's what we're doing in class right now. And after you read the story, right, you're going to fill out a graphic organizer. So if I keep going, right, we are going to, after read the story, we're going to decide, do we want to make a prequel or do we want to make a sequel of the story? So think about the parallel plot assignment where you had to kind of rewrite Rapunzel or Hansel and Gretel. This is kind of the same thing, but you're not rewriting the story. You're just coming up with prequel or sequel idea, one or the other. Okay. So if I'm opening up a brand new Word document, and I would say, right, the origin story of Pluto. And based on the story, I would try to come up with a story about how Pluto became Pluto, right? So that's pretty much what it's asking you to do there. Right? So which character interests you the most? I would pick Pluto. You can pick Persephone or Ceres. It's up to you. That's your call. And then here it talks about the conflicts. This we went over in class. Character versus character, that's man versus man, that's external. Right? Character versus nature, that's external. Character versus society, that's external. And character self, man versus man, that's internal. Then after that, generating ideas. So remember, the whole thing here is you're generating ideas as to how to write a story. And then this is the plot, breaking down the plot by its single elements. And this is what you need to turn in. Your narrative planner, just follow these instructions based on the story that's on the module. That's Persephone and Demeter. And so right here, you would just fill out based on what you read. Okay? Then you close this out. Remember, this you can download. We've talked about this at length. So if I save it, it will automatically go to my downloads. Once it's in my downloads, I can relocate the destination of the document. So I would save it. I would export as a PDF, and I would save it on my OneDrive. Okay, and I would name it 01.09 narrative writing, narrative writing assessment. Once that's saved there, I can start to make changes. I can start to write on the document. This is what you're going to submit to me. Once it's filled in, you're going to go now exit out. And again, just like the other ones, you're going to come here and you're going to upload right here. If you don't remember how to upload, if you go to period 2, and then if you go to videos and tutorials, and if you go to files, the FLBS file, even though it's a different lesson, walks you through all the steps you need to turn it in. All right. And then on Monday, I'm going to call you using this channel. I'm going to call you one by one. So I'd like for you guys to be by a computer around 2:30. I'm going to do a quick check-in with my classes. So period 1 would be from 2:30 to about 2:45, and then you guys would be from about 2:45 to 3 o'clock, and then 4th hour from 3 o'clock to 3:45. I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing, to make sure that we don't fall behind on classes. But doing those 3 things between now and Tuesday should catch you up with the rest of the class. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me on Remind or email me to make sure that we don't fall behind. Stay safe, guys. Take care.